Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Mason Menega. I'm a controversial spiritual podcaster, and today you are listening to the Black Sheep podcast with me, my buddy Cullen, and our best friend Austin Visser from the Undertaking. How you doing today, guys?
We're doing
Doing
great.
great, doing great.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to not be a mega church pastor anymore, and just, trying to make it as a band, the very lucrative life decision of going from mega church pastoring to being in a small hardcore band. So much fun. It was a really great decision that my wife really loves.
I love this bit. We got to keep it going.
It's a slippery slope.
It's just going to turn into a roast.
Am I free from getting roasted?
Yeah, right now I think you are. Be careful.
I'm not controversial enough, and I'm okay with that.
You're just a little small town school teacher.
Yeah. That's right.
Hi, boys.
Austin.
Hi.
You're basically at this point, like you really truly are like the host, like of the Black Sheep podcast. Like at this point, like Cullen shouldn't even be the host. Like it really just is you.
Yeah.
So there's three things going through my head. One, it's the scene from like Captain Phillips with Tom Cruise, where the guy's like, "Look at me, I'm the captain now." Like that's me. Or one, the good and the bad is one. I'm like such an easy get, and so desperate to just be on a podcast that you guys can call me anytime, and I'm like, I'll make time.
You're
to hang out with you
you're
guys.
our Black Sheep booty call.
Yeah. Black Sheep booty call.
Or we are just good enough friends at this point that this is a genuine, like, let's hang out and recap a rad weekend. So
instead of it, you just being a good friend, I want to think of you as just a Black Sheep booty call. Can I think of you more of that than being just a good friend?
Yes.
Undertaking girls are easy as long as their name is Austin Visser.
Fun fact, there are no female fans of the Undertaking. Actually, that's not true. That's a disrespectful thing to say about the women that do listen to us.
I wasn't talking about the women that listen to you. I was talking about you.
Oh, okay. All right, later, guys. Bye.
Since Austin is learning how to be a Black Sheep host, I probably should introduce the episode and what we're going to do today, right?
Do it.
Oh, yeah.
So Austin just played his fucking life out at Furnace Fest, and that happened to be the festival we were just at too. So we got to hang out with Austin over this last weekend, and it was such a good time seeing Austin for the first time in person, and being able to just hang out with lots of friends. It was a good time. And so the other day I was like, you know what, Austin was at Furnace Fest the whole weekend, Cullen was at Furnace Fest the whole weekend, and I was at Furnace Fest the whole weekend. We should just do a little recap with all of us and chat about all the fun things that we saw at Furnace Fest, all the fun things that we did at Furnace Fest. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do our top five things, not necessarily moments, top 5 things at Furnace Fest, 2023 Furnace Fest. And so we'll just kind of go in order, and I'm sure we're going to have some crossover, some things that we all liked and that we have in common. But yeah, I'm just it's going to be a fun time to just reminisce on what a great weekend it was, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm going to cheat. So I'm going to have like 25 things.
25?
Yeah, just 25.
Sure. That's like 20 more than we said.
You're just going to have a long honorable mentions list.
Yes. First and foremost, hey, it was great meeting you guys in person.
For
one
real.
of the more fascinating things about being a band these days is all these interviews, and like we don't tour a ton. So there's just so many pockets of the country that we haven't actually met people other than online. And I think I'm like at this point, I'm like obsessed with just meeting these people that I've talked to. And for you guys, like when we met each other face to face, it was like, man, I feel like we've done this before, but we haven't. And I don't know, it's really special to me. So anyways.
Yeah,
you were definitely shorter in person than I thought you were.
Are you lying?
I said the opposite. Yeah. I thought that you were gonna, I thought the camera put on 10 pounds. It's not true.
Thank you.
It's not true.
Somehow, wow, Cullen is just so flattering to you, Austin.
That's right.
I'm 6'3", 220 pounds, guys. I'm a large human being.
You're a tank. Wow. You're a middle linebacker.
I wish I could have been a tight end. I was a guard, lefty shooting guard, and left-handed pitcher back in high school. Never played football, but
You're a pretty
Dang.
tall guard.
yeah, I was like
Dang.
I'm like the white James Harden because I can get to the hoop. I
The
got long
white
arms.
James Harden.
Yeah.
Did you have that beard back then too?
No.
Also,
Just
is
a
that a
pro.
Spindrift that you're drinking right now?
Yeah,
I love that shit. That stuff is so good.
yeah, it's delicious. It's too early to drink. Usually we're drinking on this podcast, but I have to go pick up my kids from school after this.
I've got some gin and soda going on right now.
Attaboy.
All right. Well, is that your number one? Is that your, or at least the first one you're going to mention is just meeting
Yeah,
Cullen and I?
I'll claim that as my number one. For us as a small little band in San Diego, for so many people to be able to come up to the booth and for us to be able to meet them in person and be able to hang out, like it is so exhausting because we're just on all weekend. And from the start, from when we show up to Ghost Train to kind of just see what was going on, and there was a band playing already. Just starting to see people that we knew and people coming up that were like, we were at your Philly show a couple months ago, and you just have to like pull in this mental Rolodex of being like, oh yeah, I totally remember you. Thanks for saying hi. And then now I'm actually kicking myself because there's a lot of people that I know online that were there, but you guys didn't say hi. And so my challenge now, next time, I need to be like very specific. Like if we know each other on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, like please come up to me and say hi. Like I genuinely want to meet people. And you might also be like, hey, my screen name is this, because that's why it might be like the thing that clicks. Anyways, so that's a huge highlight for us. And it was so cool. So we were able to have that merch booth all weekend. So we got to have like a home base where people could come by and hang out. So that was cool.
Heck yeah. I also loved that. First of all, your show was amazing.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad that we got to see that and it kicked everything off for us. That was awesome. The other thing I liked is that it seemed like, I mean, you never would have guessed that you were a band that got voted in and kind of sort of last minute, right? You were not like perceived that way. Like everyone that I talked to was like, yeah, the Undertaking was really damn good. Like they were really, really excited about it. And other bands that I talked to were like, dude, Austin Visser's like the coolest guy. He's a nice guy. The Undertaking, how can they be so nice? I was like, I don't know. They're kind of dicks to us, but it is what it is.
You know, what's interesting about that is we actually had a conversation, and this is a little bit of like an inside baseball kind of thing with the band. As soon as we won that contest, we were just one of the 90 bands at Furnace Fest. Like we were on that flyer, we were on that roster, we were no less than anybody else. And at like even on my I don't talk a lot on stage because you guys aren't there to hear me crack jokes. You're here to watch my band play and go crazy on stage. And even at some point, like I was going to dedicate yes to like, hey, this song goes out to the people that voted for us. But then let's just say like, 400 people voted for us, and of all the people at the festival, there's like 5,000 people there. Like that's a fraction of the people. And so as soon as I say, hey, thanks for voting for us, then like a lot of people in the audience kind of like tilt their head and he's like, what are you talking about? And then for them, they might be like, oh, they were just voted in, or oh, they're like, there's a lot of different reactions to that. So
Sure.
a little bit of inside baseball is as soon as we're voted in to this festival, which we did, and again, thank you everybody for doing that. Like we're just one of the 90 bands, and we went into that thinking that kind of mindset of like we deserve to be here. We are like ironically, and it's not true, but at some point we are no different than Reliant K. We are no different than MXPX, who are playing on this exact same stage, just a little bit after us. And so thanks for saying that. But that's just like kind of there's a balance between like trying to, if we went into that thinking like, oh, we're just like we're nobody, we shouldn't be here. That's that whatchamacallit, it's imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
And
Yeah.
that cripples people. And for us just to take a deep breath and say like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. Got to Superman your way through it. The only thing that would have made it better is this. You should have done an altar call, man. I mean,
oh God, I will not do that. You know what I wish, we overthink everything. I wish from the get-go I would have had the confidence to get people up on stage. And so I don't know if you noticed on Friday there was a barricade, but then it was gone on Saturday and Sunday, which is a bummer because I think we maybe would have gotten more engagement, or like Johnny could have come up and like maybe gone into the crowd or some of that stuff. I wish I would have pulled a Pennywise or a Bane and just told
Yeah.
security, like, hey, like, like, let's just imagine the scenario. The second song, we're about to start No Friends, and I look around and I'm like, yo, this is like too empty of a stage. Like, hey, everybody in like the first like couple rows, like come back here and get
Climb
on
on up.
stage. Like that would have been really cool. And I like start thinking about that from a standpoint of like, yo, did you see that the band that played at 2 o'clock had like 50 people up on stage? Anyways,
That would have been
I'm,
great. Next time.
I know.
Well, I think that leads into I don't know if it was my number one thing about the 2023 Furnace Fest, but it certainly is in the top 5. But no barricades. And I just saw so much love to the organizers this year about the fact that there were no barricades. Obviously, there was that one barricade there on that stage on Friday, but the rest of the weekend, no barricades. And I just think like honestly, I think it made the festival safer, and to a certain degree I think it made it safer, and I think just overall made it a more enjoyable experience of like what that community expects from a
Mhm.
show, in a number of different shows. So I just thought the fact that there were no barricades was just overall a better experience, and I don't know how much like insurance piece like played a part into that, and I don't know like all the behind the scenes around the decision around that, but I think overall it made the festival so much better, and it just made it a lot more fun. I really loved the fact that there were like essentially no barricades the whole weekend.
I'm not a festival goer per se, so I don't like. I've never been to like Louder Than Life or Aftershock or something, so I don't really know how it is. But it felt like I'll expand that no barricades thing even further to like just like the merch and stuff. I feel like a lot of bands were just out there, and it feels like those barricades kind of eliminated that separation between artists and
Mm.
fans or artists and attendees, to where even I saw like photos later of Carson from the Dow Boys was just in the crowd. Jordan Buckley was from Better Lovers was just like in the crowd, and that's like really cool. I actually got a couple comments like from people afterwards saying like, "Oh, it was cool seeing you guys kind of watching all the bands and stuff throughout the weekend." But I think for everybody, it's like we're here as fans. Like this is the coolest weekend ever, so
Yeah.
let's just enjoy it. And I think having no barricades was kind of a Furnace Fest putting their foot down of like, no, there's like no separation between us. Like we're all in this together.
Yeah. There's an
Absolutely.
ethos to uphold in that world, I think. And I think the barricades down helps the ethos, right?
Absolutely. And in fact, along the lines of the fact that artists are in the crowd being fans as well, Cullen, didn't you mention that Turnstile was at like in the
Yeah.
pit at like
I
Living
don't remember
Sacrifice or something?
I don't remember the drummer's name, but he was over at Living Sacrifice briefly for a little bit in the like just hanging out at the edge of the pit.
Mhm.
He was like pushing people and then left.
Hmm.
So I don't know where he went after that, but it's pretty cool.
And yeah, that's part of the reason why I love this festival. I've actually thought about that too, Austin, about the fact that not only were there no physical barricades, but also the fact that it does feel like this festival. And again, I don't know what other festivals are like when it comes to this, but it seems like this festival allows bands and the artists to also be fans. And I think for other fans of these artists to like see that that the drummer of Turnstile is also just a music fan and is just like us, and the fact that like he wants to rock out, he wants to get into the mosh pit, he wants to stage dive. I think that's so important for us fans to like see like these are people too, and they love music. And I don't know, there's just something really important about that.
Wow, you guys took a drink at the same time. That was so cute.
Cullen, Austin and I mentioned our first two. What's yours that you want to
Yeah, I'll
mention?
start off with a light one. I loved the food options this year so much more
Yes.
than years past. Um, that's not usually where I would go with this, but I thought the food was like, absolutely incredible, and I had a blast just like trying other
What
stuff.
what'd you eat?
My favorite thing was from Nine Rabbits. It was a pork sausage bowl, and it was
That was legit.
amazing, amazing. I loved it.
I gotta. Well, actually, I'll expand that to like drinks and stuff. So with the artist pass,
Yeah,
we got some drinks. It's like I'm like still like recovering from this weird balance of making sure because we're just sleep deprived and we're on the road, like traveling and stuff. So it was like coffee, water, alcohol, alcohol, water. alcohol, coffee, food. And then it would be like, you're like doing all right. And then all of a sudden you eat and your body was like freaking out. Like, why haven't we eaten already?
Yeah.
So at some point I went over to Bad Luck Burger and got one, ate it, and just went right back in line and got a second one because those are so good. And then the pho place, I got those fries. And that was
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
delicious.
saw those too.
Those things are good.
They're so good.
Yeah,
sure.
I did get one of the veggie burgers from Bad Luck Burger, and like I've had some pretty good veggie burgers, and I'm not vegetarian, but I love to like just see like what vegetarian burgers are like. And I was just really curious what theirs was
He's
like.
veg curious.
Yeah, sort of in a way. But I had their veggie burger, and it felt the most fast food like veggie
Huh.
burger I've ever had, which I
Yeah.
really appreciated. Like you don't
Yeah.
really a lot of like veggie burgers feel like a little high dining of burgers, but this felt like very fast foody, and that's what I really loved about their veggie burger.
Or it tastes like a bean burger, and it
Yeah,
only
right.
ends up tasting like beans, which is not really that appealing either.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the food options this year were great. I probably am gonna list it at some point too in my list of things. But yeah, I loved
Mm.
the food options, and there felt like there were way more. Austin, I know you haven't been to the last two Furnace Fest, but the lines used to be just excruciating long.
Hmm.
And so the
I
fact that
never
this
saw
year,
lines at all.
yeah,
Yeah,
like there weren't really any
almost
lines.
never.
Like the most I ever waited was like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It used to like take maybe an hour before,
Huh.
but there just seemed like there were more food options and they were better.
Yeah.
It was just a better experience for food overall, I think.
Yeah, I agree wholly.
So, back to you, Austin. What's another thing you want to mention?
I'm trying to split between. I think there's like a fascinating part because one, I'm like just a super fan of Furnace Fest and the bands and stuff. So there's part of me that wants to just answer as a band, but also or as a fan, but then also being able to play. That like kind of skews my idea of the festival a little bit. But my second one would be the staff. Was
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yes.
again, I'm not familiar with like other festivals and like how they're run, but from the moment um I was gonna say from the moment we got there, but now I'm thinking back, like from the moment we got like our first email, even like starting with Elena from the Furnace Fest Facebook community group, and then she works with them as well. But then just the emails that we got, like leading up to it, from Zemer, from Ryan Luther, from all the different staff members, like they were always so kind, and we would ask questions and kind of not necessarily push back, but we're kind of always just like, hey, like what do you want from us? Do you need anything else? And everybody was always felt like we were included. But then as soon as we got there too, just the merch coordinator staff, her name was Angelica. She helped us out a ton. Lacey was another person that we worked with. But then Tate was our stage manager on the Big Brother stage. And then all of his staff, everybody was just so kind to us. And then kind of going back to the No Barricades, you can't not shout out Johnny Grimes, Ryan Luther, Chad, Mike, just for being like the raddest dudes. And we saw at the pre-show, the Meadows pre-show with Symphony in Peril. That's where we actually met Chad for the first time. And he gave us like I tried to shake his hand, and you're trying to just going into like a new interaction, but he gave us like the biggest hug and was like, "I'm so happy that you guys are here." And just from a founder, from like an owner of a festival standpoint, you maybe think that they'd be behind the curtain a little bit more or more reserved, but every one of those guys was just so cool to us, and that like we walk away from that like on cloud nine because it was like, hey, that was really fun. Like the people that we got to work with multiple times were really really cool, and they care. And that's again the barriers thing. I saw Johnny Grimes stage dive. I saw Mike Zemer watching almost every band at the Shed and throughout the weekend. Ryan Luther was always walking around watching people, and Chad like was always on stage for his bands, and like I was sitting next to him during As Cities Burn, and it's just cool because these guys are fans of the industry and these bands, and you can feel that in the festival at large.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
totally
they're
agree.
definitely not in this for like just making a dollar or
Yeah.
two, right? Like they truly are
Yeah.
in this because they love these bands, they love this music, they love this scene.
Yeah, and I would take it a step further to say, like, it not even just like the people who organize it, but the people who were working the festival as well. I mean, the security was great. I've never felt so like safe going to a place
Mm-hmm.
that's got that many people.
Mm-hmm.
They were prepared. They weren't letting in people who were dangerous or were potentially dangerous. I mean, or if they were, if they brought in like weapons or anything like that, like that was all confiscated. Like I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that a lot. And I also like that, the security guard or one of the security members, sorry, not the guard. I suppose, anyways, one of the security members actually got into the pit and was like moshing around for
I saw that. It was like his lunch
throwdown.
break or something.
It was
Yeah.
great. It was great.
Yeah.
And like the
That
chat,
was cool.
the crowd was like, let him mosh, let him mosh. It was great. It's great.
Yeah, and I think that like again really kind of is a telltale sign of like how much this scene just like loves to embrace like different people. I mean, even security people that probably have no idea about any of these bands, any of this music. And even like the moment they are like this seems really fun, people like they're just brought along into the journey. And I just love that about this kind of crowd of folks is that for the most part, most of them are like not trying to be gatekeepy about any of this. They're just like, you know what, you've never heard this band before, but you know what, you're gonna get into the mosh
Yeah.
pit and enjoy your time too. And
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that like even for folks who are watching your guys' show, Austin, like there might have been some people who had probably never heard you guys before, but they were just like curious. And my hope is that like nobody was like trying to be gatekeepy about it. They were just like, you know what, this is the Undertaking, and you're gonna have just a hell of a time.
We've I'd say scour. It sounds a little bit more intense, but I'm like keeping my eyes open for somebody to be like, that band sucked, but nobody said it yet.
Mason said it. Mason said it.
All right, so
Your
you
turn.
mentioned about just like the kindness. So it's my turn. God, there's just so many other kind of ways that I could go on this. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I'll just steal this one from Cullen because I'm sure Cullen will say this one. But a plea for purging. Uh, this is a band that both Cullen and I have loved for years and years and years. And to see them play again, we saw them at one of their last shows when they did their farewell tour in 2012, I think.
Yeah.
And to see them again over 10 years later and just absolutely kill it. At one point, I was actually, I don't know if I texted you guys this yesterday, but there was a video that was posted during Malevolence, and somebody had a stage dive counter, and there were over 100 stage dives alone for Malevolence, which is just fascinating. Like, there were some people that are thinking like maybe 500 stage dives in total at the Plea for Purging show, because I mean Malevolence already had 500, so you just need 400 more across
100.
probably what,
Yeah.
8 other
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
So as long as like 50 people were stage diving in their other songs, you probably had 400 another 400 stage dives. So it just, that show alone was unbelievable, absolutely incredible. It was a really good time. So anyway, Plea for Purging, and also them throwing out their
Just
the
let me get to.
burgers
I'll
in
get
the
to
middle
that
of the
point.
set.
I'll get to that.
All right, never mind.
I'll get there. Yeah. Okay. Well, so Mason's getting ahead of the cart here. So I'll say that A Plea for Purging was probably my all-time favorite part of the entire weekend. The only thing I was super disappointed about was that I wanted to see the two other bands that were playing at that exact same time, and that was the biggest one. Yes, I wanted to see Better Lovers so bad because I knew, or I heard that they did a cover of Rusty Cage. From Soundgarden, and I'm like the biggest Soundgarden fan, and I would love to hear Greg Puciato sing Chris Cornell. Like, and I didn't get to hear it, and I'm bummed about that. But Plea for Purging was incredible. Flinging burgers to the song Fat Pride. I mean, come on. That is the coolest and most badass thing someone could do. I felt seen in that moment, I felt seen in that moment. Although I've lost weight, I still represent myself as a fat man. So
yeah,
I'm not
you were
gonna
the guy that
comment
would
on
eat like
anything,
every one of those burgers that were being thrown at you.
yeah,
back in the day.
I do think I might have been the only one that was actually eating my burger while I was literally like going
Oh,
ham up
that's
there.
so
Though.
funny. I had
It was
a
great.
friend of mine come up later and was raving about that moment. He was like, "You can't believe what happened."
It was genius. I mean,
Yeah.
How many of those did you like? There had to been at least 50 that were thrown out, right?
at least I think there was probably like 75.
There was a good number of them. That they definitely made quite a few. I mean, and they were selling those for what, like $12 a pop?
Yeah,
Yeah.
12
So
bucks.
that was a
Trust me,
lot of
I
money
bought
they just
I
threw
bought
out into
20
the crowd.
I bought $24 worth of hamburgers in like 5 minutes. I got home and I told my wife, and she was like, "I noticed that there was a double charge on the card. I didn't know if that was a mistake or not." No, not a mistake.
Not a mistake at all. All right, back to you, Austin.
I'll get this one out of the way because it's very selfish. But being able to perform, well,
Yeah.
I guess it's just a bucket. Like t- this this weekend was just like the ultimate bucket list. It was one of those things for my four dudes, three dudes and myself included, Johnny, Brent, Keith, and myself. That's the Undertaking. We got four of them. Um, I was just a bucket list weekend, and so even if we were to have just attended Furnace Fest, that would have been amazing. But being able to play was so sick. And as a band in 2023, we're essentially a content machine. So the fact that we're getting all these videos, the guy that did the mosh or the stage dive counter, his name is Diego. He put up 3 songs from our set as well. So he came up later and we took a picture with him and he, anyways, it was rad to talk to that guy. But then for him to put up the music videos or whatever you want to call them on YouTube, like that's so cool because you see all these things when you type in Furnace Fest, you see all these sets that get uploaded. And for us then to like get some of those, that's really
Yeah.
cool. To be able to get footage of like a stage dive of mine into the crowd, be able to get some pictures of like a decent sized crowd with us on a big stage. Like that's one of those things where you can kind of point to some people and if you're listening to this for the first time and you're hearing me talk about stuff, I hope you understand that I'm not a prideful person and I don't have like a huge ego, but for like with that split second, it gives you just that like rush of like, I did something really cool and no one can ever take that away from us.
Mm.
And that's like so sick for us as a band of four dudes who started a band in their mid 30s to say, hey, let's have some fun and do something really cool. Like this
Heck
is a
yeah.
weekend where we did something really cool.
Yes. You
Um,
you immediately became one of those people on Tinder who's holding the
Twinder?
big
Are you
big fish up front, you know? And they're like,
I've
"Look at
never
my
been on
fish."
Tinder, but yeah, yeah.
I corrected myself. I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's like our big fish of having like a shot with a cool crowd and
Heck yeah.
videos of us on a big stage, and then to be able to perform with Meadows the night before, I sang on one of their songs, and that was fun. Um, and just you never know what's going to come from this, but hopefully, like this Undertaking stock is rising.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can keep doing cool stuff. So, anyways, yeah, that's just a very like selfish one. Obviously, that's like my number one favorite thing of Furnace Fest is that we like got to play and do that. But
Well,
anyways, yeah, it was really cool.
a part of that, how did you go about getting David Bunton on to sing with you as well as Christian Nielsen from um Meadows?
I told Christian specifically that he could not sing on that, and he somehow managed to get on stage for. um, Okay, I'll start with Christian. Christian, I love him. He's like at this point we're like he big brother, little brother type of thing. I texted him like, "Hey, I'll be at your pre-show. Like, I'm singing on the call because I had talked to Stone to make sure that was on like the set list. And I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do that." And I was like, "Hey, are you if you want like obviously the final chorus of Knuckle Sandwich of everything worked out just fine. We call it Knuckle Sandwich." That's your
That's great.
chorus because anytime we've toured with them, he always comes up and sings on that. And
Sure.
then like 4 days go by without him texting me back, and I guess he was on vacation. And I was like, "Dang, like he doesn't want to do it." I was like, so bummed. And then finally he texted me back, and I was like, "All right." So that was kind of a given. We met David at a show in Knoxville, Tennessee, this past April, and ended up talking to him and Sarah, his wife, for a long, long time after that show. And just since then, since 6 months ago, kind of crazy that that's how quickly it goes. Just became good friends with him. So at some
Yeah.
point, I got him a pass for Friday. So then at some point, I was like, "Hey, would you want to sing?" And gave him a couple options, and we came up with that whole part. But yeah, that was like that alone is so sick. I don't know if like
Yeah.
It was so his like voice is so amazing, and just for him to come in at those parts where it's like, oh dang, like his lows were so low.
Dude, it hit like a freight
Yeah,
train in the
yeah,
crowd. It was like,
yeah.
whoa,
It,
dude, this is
it felt
nuts.
that same way on stage. Like we all felt something.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I will also say that David has easily been one of my favorite guests we've ever had on. I mean, we
Yeah,
just laughed the entire time because it was a riot.
Yeah.
Also, we found out that he might be you know how you're an easy get for podcasts?
sure.
David is an easy get for guest vocals.
Oh yeah, he's always
He
telling us
does it
like
for
anytime,
everybody.
anytime. I hate doing guest spots on like actual recordings of songs. It's just not something I love. And he's always like, dude, anytime you wanna have me on a song, like let me know. He's always talking about it. I adore that guy, man. He was a huge influence of ours back in the day. And then also, again, inside baseball, it's like a little bit of a subtle flex, like for a lot of people to be like, how did you get the showdown to sing?
Yeah.
And it's like, he's our friend, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that's kind of funny when you start to piece it together. But I was mulling over trying to ask a couple other people to do guest spots too, but I didn't want it to be like overwhelming.
Yeah. You didn't ask me. Now
You
you
could
know
have hopped over the barricade and grabbed a microphone at any
it's been a
point.
dream of mine since
Oh,
day one. Not only to be on stage and sing with one of my favorite bands or scream
you
with one of
should.
my favorite bands, but
How did we not make that happen?
I don't
Oh,
know.
sorry. Like, see, that's the thing now is I'm playing all over these things in my head, and I wish I would have done stuff differently. Like that would have been so
Well,
fun.
you fucked it all up, Austin.
I
You
know.
fucked up Furnace Fest.
Ugh.
That's all right. Next time we'll do it.
No, please, please,
Yeah.
please, please.
You guys got to hit the Midwest again, tier 2. So that
Probably not.
for the first time.
We're trying. We're trying. Our routes keep taking us other directions.
That's all right. You'll get here
Yeah.
eventually.
I know.
At some point. Austin, one of the cool things about seeing you guys on stage and seeing other bands on stage is to be able to like say like that's my friend. Like that's my
Yeah.
friend doing what he
Yeah.
loves. And that's always really exciting for
Cool.
me. Is like as somebody who has no musical talent whatsoever to like at least be able to say like that's my friend doing that. Like that like not only do you get a sense of pride about being a part of like
Yeah.
something that's really cool, being on stage, but also like for me as a friend, I'm like I feel so prideful about like my friends just like doing what they love, and it's really cool to see them doing that on the stage. And so, anyway, like when I see you guys and a bunch of other friends that were on
Yeah.
stage this
Yeah.
weekend, this last weekend, it's just so much. Like I have a sense of pride as a friend.
Speaking of
Thanks,
which,
man.
Mason,
Appreciate it.
do you wanna fess up a little bit here?
About
That you missed half our set.
Yes.
so
Did
here's
you?
the
I
issue.
wasn't gonna
My
ask.
my
I wasn't gonna
Chacos
ask.
broke.
I
My
wasn't gonna
Chacos
ask.
broke the day before. We were Cullen and I were at a
Did
bar.
you
with
miss
some friends.
half our set?
I missed half your set, but I got there at the end. I got there.
When
I
I
saw the
saw when
second
I
half.
looked down, Colin, when I saw looked down and he wasn't standing next to you at some point, I was like, man, that guy better get the nicest fans in the world.
Well, the funny thing is they weren't Vans. So
They were
we
grandma
were gonna
shoes
go.
from
So
Walmart.
here's the thing: if I would have gone to the actual Van store, I would have for sure missed all of your set. So I went to Target instead, and
Yeah.
they didn't have any like shoes that I wanted from the men's section. So I literally went to the women's section, and they
Oh
had like what
no.
looked like Van shoes, and I was like, well, they have these women's shoes that are in my size, and they look passable. So I got these women's shoes from Target, and I was able to get back and see at least the second half of the set. So it
I
was a good
wasn't gonna ask because then there's also a couple people that came up to us and were like, "Man, you guys are cool," and that was like $100. You weren't even there. I'm not. I won't tell you. I won't tell you who. There's a couple people that I was like, "You didn't watch us." You just saying. I guarantee it.
when there's 5 people in the crowd, it's like pretty easy to figure out
Oh, yeah,
what
you can
the
figure it out.
non-5 people in the crowd who they were.
Well, let's
I've
be
been
fair.
telling
There was a
people.
lot more than 5 people in the crowd.
I know.
I was telling people we probably had around 500 people watching us. Like it wasn't like the shed caps out at like 2,000 or something.
Yeah.
We probably had like 500. That's really cool. That's the most
Yeah.
we've ever played to.
That's
So
a
that was
lot,
our
yeah.
first fest. That's our biggest crowd we've ever played. That's the biggest stage.
Heck
Like,
yeah.
let's go.
That's the best. I love it.
All right, my turn.
Yeah, hold on. Which one are we on? Are we 3?
3.
Yeah. So mine, number little 3 one is a really funny moment. It was a very specific moment that was really funny though. So I got to hang out with one of my friends or a couple of my friends who are the guitarists for Reliant K. And so I've gotten to know them over the last couple of years. They play in Reliant K. It was a really good time. And what was funny is I was I was just being able to hang out with them in person in their trailer. Like they had like their own like kind of trailer or whatever in the backstage area. So I'm hanging out, just chatting with them. And at one point, Matt Thiessen, the frontman for Reliant K, comes out. And like I shake his hand. It was the first time I ever met him in person.
This is great.
So he says hi. And at one point, like the other two guys that I'm hanging out with from Reliant K, like they're talking to two other people. And Matt like now kind of feels obligated, like, well, I just got to talk to this guy who's here now. So Matt like starts talking to me, and I like kind of mention a little bit about like, hey, like I'm good friends with like this person that I know you're good friends with, yada yada. Like I'm trying to make some sort of connection, right?
Mhm.
And he looks at me, like he stops me for a second. He's like, "Are you that guy from the internet that always tweets about us?" And I thought that was such a silly, funny moment. And anyway, I like told the whole world about it. But here's my second telling to the world about the
Speaking
fact
of
that Matt
which,
Thiessen
what was
like
your
a
most
fan.
recent tweet about Reliant K? Because I laughed about it, but now I can't remember it.
The one where I was like, that wasted 10 seconds of your life.
Yeah.
So I had like a tweet that was like Reliant K and then Christian men on their wedding night and then like the shaking hands emoji, and it said, "I just wasted 10 seconds of your life."
I don't get it.
That's one of their songs.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
All right. So anyway, that moment.
I figured
really
that you
funny.
understood the other part. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got the
Yes,
Christian
that's
man
true.
part. Yeah.
I lived it.
All right, Cullen, let's hear it.
My next one, I'll say this. I have health issues, right? I'm on blood thinners. I've got kidney disease.
You got no knees.
I've got no knees. Like I've had 6 knee surgeries. I've got a knee replacement.
You got a torn labrum now, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Why did you encourage me to jump on you when we hugged that one time? I should have done that.
Well, because you're still a lightweight, you know. It's not like it's Andy Atkins jumping on me, so I would have been all right. I was a little bit terrified that I was going to take a shot to the head, and then like I would have an internal brain bleed, and then I would be sent to the hospital and just inevitably die. But I didn't care really all that much, and I was just like, I'm going to get in here a few times, and I'm going to jump off these stages, and I'm going to do all the fun stuff, because I never got to do this when I was young. Like the stuff didn't exist where we lived. Anywhere it did exist was way too far away for Mason or I to get to. And so just being able to let loose a little bit and get in the crowd and push people around and get pushed around, and it's a thing that unless you do it, you don't understand it, right? It's a feeling that you just don't understand until you do it.
It's
that was
especially great when you don't even care if you're going to live anymore. So maybe you need to talk to your therapist about that.
It's not like a depressed thing. It's like I've accepted the fate that I have.
Well, that's the first part of the grieving process.
I guess.
That's funny. Yeah, good for you, man. That pumps me up.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Number 4 for you, Austin.
Man, like I said, this is the point in time where I could probably just like rattle off an hour's worth of stories, but like the bands, Norma Jean was amazing. MXPX was a dream and so fun. We're just screaming at each other. Responsibility. What's that? Like, just so cool. I should pull up a list, but Better Lovers was amazing. Zayao, watching them, they were so good.
Hey, I'm not the only one that pronounces it that way. High five, Austin.
God dang it.
Drain, I caught a couple of their songs. Bane was amazing to close out the night. Turnstile was rad. Like, I'm not the biggest Turnstile fan, but just watching like the spectacle of everything was amazing.
I think you just committed a cardinal sin. You're not allowed to say anything slightly negative about Turnstile. Don't you know the rules now?
I do now. I love Turnstile so much. They're my favorite band. Better Lovers, As Cities Burn, like was
Oh
just an
yeah.
amazing moment. It's just like so many little micro moments with this song. Oh, Haste the Day. Like some of these bands
Oh
that
god.
one I never thought I was gonna see ever or again. And so that's when like you just have story after story after story after story about like a song or a chorus or a line or a band in general. And for me, it's like stuff like Come Now Sleep is the album that I learned how to yell with. And so to hear them sing some of those songs and just from a spiritual standpoint, like what Cody wrote on that and Hell or High Water, like so profound. So to hear him sing some of those songs, amazing. Haste the Day, I was probably like 18, no, like 16, 17 years old. And it was Haste the Day, Dead Poetic, Under Oath, Norma Jean, some sort of solid state tour that was coming through. Haste the Day opened and they played Blue 42's first song we had ever heard from them. And they just crush. And all of a sudden you're just like, well, I'm a lifelong fan. And so just like little moments like that, that tap you back into like your childhood. It's just so
Mm.
cool. And like, and that was like happening like over and over and over. And then Johnny would talk about May and Armor for Sleep and some of the bands that he got to see. I know some people had like big moments during Further Seems Forever. And it's just so cool that there are so many opportunities for just moments of like, wow, this is happening and this is really cool.
Yeah, dude. It is really like Christmas, right?
Yeah.
It's Christmas has like this like nostalgia to it, and you're also like, just getting cool things in the process.
Yeah.
Uh that's what Furnace Fest feels like to me. It's like Christmas.
We called it a buffet. So
A buffet.
we kept treating it like a buffet. We keep like I'm gonna take a little bit of this. I'm gonna go get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Love it. Here's an underrated aspect of Furnace Fest. And again, I don't really know what a lot of other festivals are like when it comes to this, especially like kind of heavier music type festivals. But I would say my number 4 is the kids at the festival. And not only are there like children literally like dancing and moshing on stage. Like there was that one kid that was just like seemingly at every single show on
He's
stage.
He's
got
our
he's got he's got
it's
a
our
huge Twitter following.
it's our buddy
I
Luke.
guess that was his.
His
Luke,
I guess
that's
that's his
it.
whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his name's Luke. His dad's been a big fan of ours for like a long time, so that was cool to be able to meet him.
That might be the biggest flex anyone could have.
Right?
He's a
Yeah.
bu- they're from San Diego. He
That you're
moved. He,
that
they
you're
li-
friends with him.
yeah.
That's the biggest flex anyone could have. Is what I'm saying.
That's
I
pretty
don't
cool.
know. The kid stuff got a little bit of controversy in the
It
Facebook group
it
this
did a little
Well,
bit.
yeah, and like I get that, but also it's like he's like what, a 4-year-old kid? Like it is what it is. And I get like that there's probably like, some sort of content creation around it, but like also the kid seems like he really enjoys it. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that one was what people were really pointing at. I think it was like some of the other ones where like kids are on like literally in the mosh pit and parents are like forcing them out there to a certain extent. I think that is where people got a little nervous about things. But
The one Mason,
yeah,
I don't mean to cut you off. I just saw so many stories as well about people being like, when I was a kid, I went to Furnace Fest in 2001, and now I'm able to bring my son to this
right.
festival now and be able to share this moment. And that's like
mhm.
where Furnace Fest becomes something bigger than just a music fest.
Yes,
Right.
totally, totally.
Totally. And that's where I'm like especially like that Turnstile show. Like the thing that took my breath away around the Turnstile show was to see like what for sure were like high school age kids, like or maybe even younger, like middle school. And I remember being that age, getting into this music for the first time and like wanting to be that kid that was like in the mosh pit at like Under Oath when I was like 13 or 14 or 15 or
Mhm.
whatever it was, right? And like Cullen and I were like what I think it was like 16 or 17 when we saw like A Plea for Purging and seeing The Chariot when I was like 16 years old and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were young kids. We were like whatever those kids ages were at Turnstile, like that's how young we were. And to
Yeah.
like see the next generation of those kids like find these bands and want to be a part of this scene, like that's what like touched me the most was like that, like this is not going away. This music's not going away. Like there are kids that are going to continue this music. Those kids are going to go on to create like great bands too. And that like to me is like the cool thing to just see this like turnover of just like generation after generation of like you see 60-year-olds in like the Living Sacrifice show moshing, going hard, even sometimes stage diving. And then to see like 14-year-old kids at Turnstile, and you just
Yeah.
see this great range of ages like caring about this music. And that to me is like what's really cool about this. So to see like kids at these shows, not just young kids, and you know, their parents bringing them along, and you see their big like headphones over their ears, and like, you know, them going off and just like having a hell of a time, like that's really cute and wonderful. But to like see kids that are like 14, 15, 16 years old having meaningful experiences, being a part of this, like that to me is really touching, knowing that those kids are going to go on and create really cool bands, and we're going to be 60 years old listening to their bands.
Yeah. Yeah. There was this kid that I made friends with. I bet he was probably 15 or 16 years old during the Turnstile show. And it was like a battle. It was like a war zone in there. And him and I were like working together. And then at one point I was like, do you want to go up? And he's like, I don't know. I'm kind of scared. I was like, it's now or never. Let's do it. I was like, I'll throw you up there. He's like, all right, let's do it. So I threw him up there and he jumped off. And I swear to God, he jumped 20 feet. I've never seen someone jump so far. Like Mason doesn't even come close. Mason's jump from last year doesn't even come close. Austin, your jump from this year doesn't even come close. That kid jumped an astronomical amount of distance. It was awesome.
Sick.
You can get that kid on the long jump team.
For real. Yeah. I should recruit him.
That's cool.
Did he call you Mr. Mac?
No. He just said, bro. He's like,
Thanks,
bro,
Grandpa.
come on, bro, help me up. I'm like, all right, here we go.
All right, Cullen, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is the friendships, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love Furnace Fest. The bands are great. Meeting people that we haven't met before is great. But the best part is the friendships that continue to grow when we're there. And I love that aspect more than anything. That is my all-time favorite aspect of Furnace Fest. It's really touching. Like I almost want to like tear up a little bit right now. So I'm going to stop, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Friends. Yeah.
How about you, Austin? Number 5.
Yeah, well, again, I could go on and on. I think I'll just sum it up. Like the best thing about Furnace Fest for us, the top 5 things, if we're talking about that, is it was just the unarguably one of the best weekends of my life. Like inside out, core memory island type of stuff of just like that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to be able to share that with our band, where if you can't pick up on it, Keith, Johnny, Brett, and I are like best friends, and we hang out all the time. We love each other dearly, and for us to be able to like hop on a plane at 5 a.m. from San Diego, headed out to Birmingham, and then on the way back, hop on a plane at 6 a.m. back to San Diego. And every single moment in between there, we're just like, hey, we're doing something really cool. This is an adventure. Let's go have some fun. For us to be able to like accomplish that and be able to share that with each other is so sick. Like our text chat is just like ablaze just with memories and little things of like, dude, remember when this happened? But then you start to, you know, expand that to where I get to meet people like you. And then there's other people like, I met a guy named Danny, who we just had some like really cool conversations. I met a couple other people who had listened to this podcast and heard of us through there. And so that's just cool to where you start to kind of see the network of how people kind of come back and different relationships. All Consuming Podcast, got to give them a shout. Because that Discord, a lot of people from that Discord that were in, they were there. And so just to run into them all weekend long at different places, different shows, you kind of would see somebody at one of the sets and kind of give them the like, yo, what's up? Like, this is so sick, you know? Like you share that little moment of like, this is something cool. There was a guy, oh shoot, I can't remember, Lofi, the Lofi on Instagram. And he came by and had to sign his records. He was standing next to you when I stage dove. And he, like, I landed on him.
Yeah.
And throughout the weekend, just be like, hey, you okay? Like, I didn't, like, hurt you, did I? But then there's guys like Zach, our buddy Zach. He was really tall, wearing a Undertaking shirt at some point. And then Big Jeremy, the dude from Seattle who knows every single one of our words. It was just, if you see our pictures of the crowd, he's the dude that's just got his hands up and like, it's just like, I don't know, man. Like I could go through every single day and like all the different like stages of the weekend and just pinpoint like, man, that was cool. That was cool. That was cool. And then you circle everything back. And again, I could get emotional starting to think about like, we got this because people voted us in. And at some point I talked to the merch coordinator, Angelica, and I said, do you know how we got this by any chance? Like, did you hear? And she was like, no. So I told her the story and her eyes like lit up and was like, that is so cool that that's how you guys got on this. And I don't know. It's just really special to us. And again, we take this as an opportunity to just kind of keep going. We got some like amazing demos. We got shows lined up. We got a booking agent involved with stuff now. Like, let's go. Like unstoppable.
Well, I just remember every time we would run into each other, you just always had the biggest smile because it really did feel like you could just feel the energy coming from you that like this is like the greatest weekend right now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, every time I saw you, you were always smiling because you were just soaking in the moment. I love that.
It was fun. Yeah, it was a good time. All right, can I tell about the bad things now? No, I'm kidding. No, you guys got to go.
So I will say my fifth one is right along with Cullen, just friends. Like, obviously like hanging out with you, Austin, meeting new friends, like people that we haven't met before and just like becoming friends with them. I had lots of friends, like we stayed in an Airbnb with like 7 or 8 of us and to like introduce people that like have never met each other before. And like all of a sudden now they're going to be staying in the Airbnb together and see those people just like become really good friends over the weekend. Like that's really cool to watch like my friends like meet each other and become friends themselves. Just like all of that was just so much fun. Obviously meeting people at the festival, seeing people that we have gotten to know over like the internet, over doing these interviews and just being able to see them in person for the first time, like all of that. I mean, just all of those friendships. And I've always described Furnace Fest as like a family reunion, and it just like felt like that again this year, even more so. So yeah, the friendships are just always really touching and probably the thing that I always come back to.
Yeah, I agree. Last one for me. This is kind of weird. I'm not someone who's got, tens of thousands of followers on Twitter, and I don't have a super cool band or anything like that. I'm just a guy. I'm just a dude, and I talk way too much on here, but within the first 30 minutes of being at Furnace Fest, I was recognized by 2 guys from the Netherlands of all things. And they were having an absolute blast, and they were like talking to me about things that I don't even remember myself saying. And I was like, this is so cool. Also, I'm scared about what I maybe have said in the past, but regardless,
no regrets.
Getting no regrets. That's right. Getting recognized is kind of a strange thing. And that's not like trying to like be like self-important or anything like that. But like, that was weird because that happened a whole bunch of times. But it makes me feel good that like this podcast is doing something and that, people are listening and kind of a part of a little community here as well. And that just feels really, really good because, like I'm not an authority in this scene. I'm not an authority in podcasting. I'm not an authority in a band or on Twitter or anything like that.
You're not even an authority in your own classroom.
That's exactly right. I'm just a dude.
In your own house, but
well, I might be an authority there. I don't know. But regardless, it's a great feeling, like knowing that like we're just a part of a much bigger community, a bigger scene, and we're just trying to do our part. I love it. It was fun.
Cullen, just wait until you meet your trolls in person.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah, Mason met some of his trolls. That was pretty fun. They're so much nicer in person though.
Yeah, I wonder why. But anyway,
I'm sure I have some haters out there.
Yeah, well, I feel like Cullen haters are probably less, farther and few between than
less vitriolic, maybe too.
We call them punishers. You got people who just punish you.
There's one of my so we do have like this one review on iTunes. By the way, you should go and like and subscribe us and also rate us on iTunes or whatever.
5 stars.
But there's one review on iTunes, and it's like Mason should shut up because he's a heretic, and also Cullen is way funnier than Mason because Mason's not a comedian. No. It's like this is hilarious. Like I am nowhere near as funny as Mason, and I just think that's funny.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
I would go that far.
I'm just louder. That's all I am. But
Debatable.
That's
yeah,
funny.
Yeah.
I think I'm louder. But
It was a good
anyway,
weekend.
it was a good weekend. Austin, I can't wait to see you again. I hope at some point you come to the Midwest and we can jam out again. Or maybe, maybe for some reason I'm out in the West Coast when you guys are playing. That would be really fun too. But yeah,
I'm still
we
trying
just
to
need
get
to
you
see
guys
you
to
again.
do. I'm still trying to get you guys to do like the Almost Famous thing where you come out and hang with us for a couple days on the road. That'd be fun.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm down.
I'll
Just
be
let us
your
know.
Alicia Silverstone. I can do that.
You guys always had like other trips planned and stuff.
Well,
We don't go
Cullen
on as
is
many
always
trips as you
pretty
think.
free in the summer, so just like do
Yeah.
a little summer thing, and you could just tell me where to go. I'm free whenever.
Yeah.
All right.
We can make it happen.
We'll just
We
do
got
it.
some
All
cool,
right,
we got some cool stuff coming up, so we're excited.
love it,
Awesome.
love it. Well, obviously, whenever that happens, we'll get you on the podcast again, and we'll chat about it. But in the meantime, Furnace Fest 2023 is in the books, but it will live on forever in our hearts. So thank you so much for Furnace Fest, all the people that were a part of Furnace Fest, for putting it on, making lots of memories for lots of people, including us three. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'm excited to see you again in 2024.
Heck yeah.